Hey guys, so Sabrina here, and I have a quick question for you. When I say someone's depressed, what do you think about? What do you automatically envision? I know if you're like most people, you're going to picture the person that's walking around completely frumped over. Either their shirt's untucked or they're unkempt or they haven't showered. Maybe they haven't eaten in a few days. They look like they haven't slept. Maybe they don't have friends or family. Maybe you think about the person that's lying in a bed somewhere in a cold, dark room with the curtains closed and the sad music going, and they're just not showered. They can't smile. They can't move. They can't feel anything. Maybe you think about someone who can't hold a job down because all they do is cry all day. Regardless of what you think about, you probably don't think about the most common form of depression, which is what depression generally looks like, atypical depression. What you're generally picturing is likely melancholic depression, which is the typical depression. So what I want to do today is I actually want to talk about the myth that you can always tell when someone's depressed, because that's just not true. Do I look depressed? Do I look like I battle depression? Because I'm smiling and I can laugh. But guess what, guys? I battle depression. And most people wouldn't know that because what they're picturing is not what they're seeing. And so I want to talk about that real quick. There's this great video by Dr. Tracy Marks, and she is phenomenal. I highly recommend people watch her if you are wanting more in depth or even just better medical terminology from this. I've gotten a lot of information from her. She is wonderful at explaining the differences between different types of depression and different types of mental health issues. So she helped break this down pretty well, and I want to share it. Because what we generally picture when we picture depression is typical depression, which is what I explained. And while that is typical, it's not the most common. Atypical is the most common form of depression. And I want to give you a few differences. What I want to do is I want to paint a picture of the atypical depressive individual, which is, well, really me. I'm the face of atypical depression. So let me break it down for you. I can experience moments of happiness. I can laugh, I can play around, I can joke with my friends and family. When I'm at work and I'm around all my nursing friends and they're joking around, I can joke with them. I can laugh, I like to cut up, and I like to be goofy. The difference is those don't last very long. I'm not in a state of being happy and goofy all the time. When I walk away and I walk down the hall, I generally experience this it's like an overwhelming sinking feeling. It's like I know when I get away from people, I'm going to experience this sinking into a pit feeling, and I hate it. But that's what happens. But I'm not devoid of moments where I laugh and can joke around and play and have a good time. Maybe I go to a party and I have fun. I joke around with my kids or watch a movie and it makes me laugh. The difference is I don't feel that continuously for weeks on end. It's just more situational. It kind of comes and goes. It's more sporadic. I'll have these feelings of brightness throughout my day. With melancholic depression, that doesn't generally happen. You're not generally going to see that. They're not going to feel those moments of brightness. Overall, there's going to be a devoid of those. Let's go back to atypical depression. With me, I sleep a lot. I don't know why, but right now I can't seem to get enough sleep. I'll sleep 10 hours a night. I get up, I come out and I'll sit on the couch and I still feel tired. Now, I'll get up and go do things, but simply because that's my drive to get up and go. I'm just that type of person. I have work, I've got school, I have a family, I've got friends. These are things that I like to tend to. So I make myself get up and go. But boy, if I sit on that couch and anybody walks away, I could fall asleep, and I do. Sometimes I just pass out. That is atypical depression. Melancholic depression, generally speaking, you're going to have more bouts of insomnia. Maybe you go to bed at a normal time, but at 3 o'clock in the morning, bing, you wake up. You can't sleep. You experience irritability and anxiousness. You experience just agitation because you just can't sleep. And you're going to experience more bouts of insomnia. With atypical depression, like me, you're going to experience a little bit better weight gain. I may not look like it right now because in addition to the depression, I do struggle with an eating disorder. That's another whole topic I'll discuss at a different time. But with atypical depression, you're going to have an increased appetite, generally speaking. compared to melancholic depression, where you have no appetite and you generally suffer a significant weight loss. So with atypical depression, you're probably going to experience a weight gain. As a matter of fact, it can be quite substantial, because not only do you have an increased weight gain from appetite, the sleepiness that you feel with the atypical depression can contribute to that. You're just tired. You just want to sleep. So sleep and eat, sleep and eat. Those are kinds of the things that go along with atypical. However, with the melancholic, I can tell you this. When I suffered a melancholic episode earlier in this year, I lost quite a bit of weight. Right now, I have gained back 6 to 7 pounds compared to what I had lost earlier in the year when I was going through one of my melancholic episodes. And so while some people would say that's not a substantial weight gain, for someone like me who deals with an eating disorder and has gone through what I've gone through this past year and a half, it is a significant deal. And so that is the atypical side of the depression, not the melancholic side of depression. So you will see me eating. You will see the fact that I have more weight on me now than I did have when I was going through the melancholic episode. Another thing that atypical depression will have, generally speaking, is you read into things. There's going to be more of a personalization when people are upset or you think they're upset. So someone looks at you. Maybe you take it the wrong way. Maybe part of that is just your personality or your insecurities, and you automatically do that. But with atypical depression, you're probably going to do it even more so. I know that if someone looks at me or someone is not smiling when I smile at them, I tend to take that personal. I automatically will start thinking, something's wrong with me. They don't love me. What did I do wrong? Did I mess something up? Am I ugly? Do I look bad in this outfit? Have I hurt them in some way? I mean, those are the kinds of things that I automatically start thinking about. With melancholic depression, I just would go through huge bouts of ruminating, which is very common. And that's where you are guilt-ridden over things that you've done in the past or mistakes that you've made even recently. And you will beat yourself up over them. You just ruminate over them. You play them over and over in your head. You think about them. You feel them. And guys, this isn't just a normal, like, I just want to not make these mistakes again. This is a general, I cannot get out from under the feeling of guilt and shame for what I've done. And with the atypical depression, I still deal with some of that. Like, I still might experience some of that occasionally where you just ruminate over things. It's more of a critical inner voice of shame going, something's wrong with me. I'm a mistake, or something's just messed up. And, but I'm able to stop that thinking, thank God. But that's where I'm initially going to go, versus when you're going through a melancholic depression, you're just going to beat yourself up over and over. You're going to ruminate over these bad decisions or mistakes that you've made, or what you think were bad mistakes you've made, okay? The next thing is, which is kind of one of the bigger things that I deal with right now, is the way that your body, your mind throughout the day with your body kind of goes into and out of moods. So with a melancholic depression, generally speaking, you're going to wake up in the morning and you're just automatically going to feel that sinking weight, that feeling of depression. You don't want to get out of bed, and you're already feeling overwhelmed. You're already feeling yuck. You're already feeling like you're in a pit of despair and hopelessness. With atypical depression, you may not feel that right away. Throughout the day, you may experience that, and you probably will go through episodes where you're feeling so yuck and just kind of like in a dark area, but it gets worse throughout the day. So typically at nighttime is when an atypical depression is going to hit that. And for instance, here's the difference. When I was going through my melancholic phase, I would wake up automatically feeling like I just don't want to be here today. I don't want to be here at all. I would automatically wake up feeling like something's wrong, and there was no hope and complete despair. And I would think about ways of just not being here. Now, throughout my day, I may wake up okay, and I have a little bit better outlook on life in the morning. But throughout the day, there's going to be times it gets worse and worse. So by the time I go to bed, I may not have waken up feeling this way, but I go to bed thinking I just don't want to wake up tomorrow. It's not all the time, and it's not always extremely severe, but that is typically the trend. It's going to trend down towards the nighttime instead of waking up that way and trending more up. And so with atypical depression, that's what's going to happen. In the morning, I'm going to be able to get up a little better, but then I'll be sadder towards the evening. And the last thing that she talks about is the difference in the leaden paralysis, is what it's called. With atypical depression, you're not as slow moving, but your limbs feel heavy. It's like sometimes they just want to lay there. Like, I just can't lift my arms. I don't want to move my legs. You feel like you've got lead in them. When with melancholic depression, you feel that generalized feeling of slowness and just blah. Everything's just kind of slow and you just can't seem to get going that way. When with the atypical depression, you tend to be a little bit more leadened and weighted down. So I hope this helps. I really want to give you a better idea of what typical depression looks like, because I'm typical depression. Common atypical depression. So with typical depression, it's not the most common form. You're not going to see that as often. You're going to see more like me, where you wouldn't know what I'm thinking. You wouldn't really know what I'm feeling unless I share it with you. And more than likely, I'm not going to. But don't be surprised if you find me all of a sudden breaking down and crying, or I get a little overwhelmed and have to walk off. Because if I don't, I will start crying. Or if I feel a little insecure and want to start blaming myself for things, or feeling very hypercritical. Those are ways that I deal with this. So atypical depression is also tending to be more chronic. You're going to see it in people that deal with persistent depressive disorder like I do, where it's a lot longer lasting depression. They tend to go hand in hand. Melancholic depression is not associated as often with the persistent depressive disorder. It's more of the major depressive disorder, where you're going to deal with it, but it's not going to last for the years at a time. So I hope that helps. In my next video, I want to talk about the 10 core traits of perfectly hidden depression. And I'm going to break them down and go over one at a time in shorter videos, where I can give you an example of how I've walked this portion out, and then what I've done to try to help change that, and what I'm doing to work on it for getting better for the future. So anyway, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you soon. Bye.